Hey everybody, my name's Kyle, and this is the Untypical Heroes! I'm excited! This is the season finale. This is the campaign conclusion. Let's jump right into it. So the party made their way through the Hyqueous Vaults and into the gyre of Glim and Dim. This is where the Loonium Rift is. This is what the Hyqueous Vaults were built for ages ago by the ancient Toonomancers. They found this Loonium Rift, this tear through space and time, where this intangible, invisible, gaseous element known as Loonium entered the land of Shenanigans. The ancient Toonomancers built this room in particular to house this rift so that they could study it and make sure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. They failed in that regard because they fell into the very tiny, nefarious, evil hands of the Govn'a, and he built this machine for his machinations in order to suck Loonium from the world, force it back into this rift, and attempts to do what he calls his final transformation. The party needs to stop him. As soon as they enter this room, they come out at a platform that's about 10 feet from the bottom of the room. So 10 feet below them, they see this sea of Loonium just swirling around, right? They can't really see the floor, but they can see the top of a pipe that's draining upwards. And as it drains upwards, this gyre, the cyclone, just kind of rises and rises and twirls and spins and meets right at the rift in the middle with this top column of Loonium that is spiraling downwards to meet it. And again, the entire ceiling is covered in a fog and a mist of swirling, prismatic, rainbow kind of colored Loonium. There's a pipe in the ceiling 30 feet above them that the party followed in order to make it to this room. And that's draining downwards. So these two pipes that are sucking Loonium, they know the top pipe is coming from that Loonium siphoning room where they saved old man Kylan's, right? They saved him from that room. And this bottom pipe is coming from somewhere too, and that's draining upwards. They're both meeting in the middle. Now in the middle, there's this incredibly bright light source, this sphere centered on the rift. Typically, Loonium is draining out from here. The Govn'a is forcing the Loonium back in, and it's not natural. So they can see that the rift is almost like fighting this. It's pushing back. This tension is just building and building and building. And as the party makes their way through the room, they notice that there's crackling noises. There's rumbling, like a giant thunderstorm in the middle of this room. And bolts of prismatic Loonium lightning are shooting out and smashing into these walls on either side of the gyre. Now the party makes their way towards the Govn'a. Right, the Govn'a is 30 feet up on another platform, and that's where his machine is. And he's got his Toon Squad members descending. They're falling down ropes to meet the party and dispose of them. So Camicipras Lawsoniana moves through this left side of the room, right? He's going to circle around the left, and the rest of the party goes right. And Sir Camicipras Lawsonia says, I'll draw them my way, right? We'll split their numbers. And Superdu and Gary lead the charge on the other side. They are tasked with taking out as many Toon Squad members as they can and clearing the path for Andy and Mibs in order to ascend this wall, this straight vertical shaft, and take out the machine, whatever that thing is doing, and stop this once and for all. So Camicipras Lawsoniana is going down the left side, and his goal is the Govn'a. He says, you guys leave the Govn'a to me. Now, the path that they're walking on is about 3 feet wide, not a whole lot of space, and there's a guardrail that is iron and rusty. It's very rusty. It looks ancient. It looks pretty old. They need that guardrail because as soon as they enter this room, they can feel the pull of the gyre. It's yanking them inwards, and they need to kind of fight back against it by pushing against the guardrail. Now, there's also handles alongside the wall. They're at about waist height, which is good for Andy because she's tiny and she even has to reach up to grab those handles. They're waist height for an average size Toon. And then they're also at shoulder height, and they're equidistant, moving all the way up and down the wall. And every few feet they repeat. So the entirety of these walls is covered with these handles. And as Andy makes her way through, she notices, looking across, that the Toon Squad members, as they're descending, they're funneling the rope through the handles. So that way the gyre, as it's pulling, the rope looks like it's kind of secure. When they make their way to the bottom, they've got these notches on their belts, these like D-hooks, carabiners, and they thread the rope through it. The Toon Squad member who's leading the charge runs forward a little bit. He unclips himself from the rope. He pushes the rope through one of the handles, reclips it, runs forward again. Unclip, threads it through, reclips it. And they keep repeating this process. And Andy says, that's not a bad idea. She yells forward and she yells, Gary! And they have to yell pretty loud because this rumbling and crackling noise from our gyre is very loud. She says, Gary! She's like, we need the rope! And Gary, where's Gary? Gary right here, who does have 50 feet of rope. He says, oh, okay, I got you, right? And he pulls out the rope and he cuts it about halfway through. He keeps it coiled and he throws the rope. He throws 25 feet, half of the rope over his shoulder to Andy. Does he throw it, though? He does. He does, because Gary's impulsive. He has shown us that time and time again. He acts first and never thinks. So he does. He cuts half of the rope and he throws it over his shoulder. And he says, here! And when he throws it, Superdu looks at the rope fly kind of towards him, and before it goes over his shoulder, it just takes off like a beeline. It makes like a little hairpin turn and just launches into the gyre, and they see the rope unravel, and all 25 feet of it hit this gyre and just disintegrate. And Andy is at a loss for words, and she just stares at him, and Gary's like, oh, sorry about that, right? So he takes the other rope, and he ties it off on the rusted iron hand railing, and then he loops it multiple times through the handle, and then he continues rushing forward. Superdu gets to there, and he kind of limbos under it and runs. When Andy makes her way to the rope, she unties it, she wraps it around herself and ties it off, and then she tosses the rope that is secure now back to Mibbs. Mibbs grabs it, he wraps it through his belt, and he lets some slack go, and Andy moves forward a little bit. And as she moves forward and she's struggling, she's kind of getting yanked and pulled, and she's really fighting against this hand railing to not get pulled into the gyre. Mibbs gives her some slack, and after she makes it a few handles in front of him, he ties the rope through one of the handles to brace themselves. He unties it, he walks forward a little bit. He ties it, he braces, he lets her move forward a little bit, he unties it. And they continue that pattern as they make their way through. As the party makes it about halfway through, the Govn'a yells over the edge. He kind of mocks them. He's like, you actually thought you stood a chance. He's like, when I make my final transformation, none of your efforts will matter. And the party moves forward, right? So Kami Cyprus Lasonia says, we will stop you. We will defeat you. And at that, they hear the rumble behind them. They hear the explosion. They hear the doors that they sealed off blow off. And they say, oh my gosh, not these eel men again. And it's not the eel men. It's Redbeck. He comes bursting through the doorway. Hundreds and hundreds of goblins just pour out. They're crawling over him and everything, falling off of him, tumbling over each other, and they spill out down either side of our walkway and chase the party. And he says, I found you. And Gary looks over his shoulder. He's like, not this guy again. So Kami Cyprus Lasonia, and he yells to Gary and Superdu, Gary, Superdu. Gary's like, I got it. And they turn around and they run and they charge back against the grain. Now they push their way through Andy and Mibbs. And Gary and Super do what they have to do. They have to defeat these goblins, and they got to hold Redbeck off. And our scene is set. We've got 10 progress tracks. Instead of tracking individual health for our Toon Squad members and our goblins and our 2 wargs and our boss and our mini-boss and everything, there's a lot. We're just going to track everything on this singular 10 progress track. And the first thing that we need is to determine who has the initiative here, which we already did. We already determined who had the initiative, and our party members have the initiative. We did that already. So we got the initiative. What are we doing now? What are we doing? I think the first thing that we need to do is face adversity, because our module tells us, what does it tell us? Tells us every round, creatures entering or within the upper or lower half of the room must save versus wounds to resist the pull of the gyre's whirlwind currents. And then we also have an electrical storm that's lashing out at them. And we have this plasma storm, too, throwing plasma all over the place. So the first thing we're going to do before we do anything else is we're going to face adversity. We're going to face adversity. And I'm going to say that Andy is going to be the one right now who's facing adversity because she's currently the one who's in front leading this charge on the right side of our gyre. And we're going to say that she's going to roll. I'm going to say she's going to roll agility, right? A bolt of this prismatic lightning shoots through across in front of her, up above her, maybe 20 feet above her, so blasts into the wall and explodes. And chunks of this concrete wall come flying down, and she needs to be able to move forward and kind of duck under those. Can she do it? She's using her agility. Her agility is going to be a D8, so let's go ahead and grab that D8. There it is. And let's chuck this bad boy. She gets 4! It's a strong hit. Yes, Andy. It's a strong hit. On a strong hit, she gets +1 stamina, which she doesn't need because she's already maxed out. And she leveled up last session. So she's got +3 stamina. But she succeeds with gusto. She sees these rocks, she moves forward, she tumbles forward, and as she tumbles forward, she meets the first of the Toon Squad members. These rocks come barreling through, they burst through the side of the guardrail, and the rocks disappear in an explosion as they hit the lower floor area, right? This sea of tangible loonium, they explode and burst. She looks over the ledge and she kind of starts sweating. She's like, oh man, this got real. And he doesn't have a weapon. She does not. But she does have textbooks. So she reaches into her backpack over her shoulder and she grabs one of her textbooks out, and it's a physics textbook. And it's thick, it's huge. She even stops for a second. This book is like bigger than her. It's cartoonishly large, right? And very thick. She pulls this out and she says, Mr. L did tell me that one day I would come to appreciate physics. And she's, that day's today. She starts swinging at the Toon Squad members. She is going to use the take that move. Here it is in all of its glory. Take that. Where is it? It should be here somewhere, right? I just saw it. Here it is. Take that, right? It's kind of hidden from us. Some bad formatting here. It happens. It says, when you have the initiative and fight up close, which she does, she's going to roll power. She's going to roll power. These Toon Squad members come running forward. They're charging. She's charging. She gets the physics book crazy in her eyes. Ah! And she takes a swing with this. Let's see. She's got power. Power is going to be a D12 for Andy. Let's roll this bad boy and see what we get. And she gets a 5. Is a 5 a weak hit? On a D12, a 5 is a weak hit. Do we want to re-roll that? Do we want to use our Loonium to avoid re-rolling it? And we've got Loonium. This is the final encounter. Let's use 2 Loonium here. Okay? Let's go down to 3 on our Loonium. We're going to use 2 of our Loonium. And on this strong hit now, she's going to retain the initiative, and she's going to cost 2 health of damage. So we're going to knock off 2 on this track. Right, she starts swinging and she's just blasting these Toon Squad members. She hits one of them, boom, knocks him over the guardrail. Excuse me. And he starts tumbling towards the gyre, but he's held on with the rope, so it pulls the next Toon Squad member. She comes up, and she like dives through his legs. Right, he swings at her. She comes up behind him, and before he can turn around, boom, she takes him out too and smashes him in the back with this physics textbook. Right. And she looks at it and she goes, oh my God, I love physics. She's yelling. She takes out another one and she says, every action has an equal and opposite. Boom. And she looks at the next Toon Squad member and she, kind of uppercuts him with the book and she says, F equals MA. Boom. And then she jumps up in the air and the Toon Squad member kind of like covers his face. He's like, no, don't hit me. And she's like, impulse. Boom. And Mibs is kind of even like, oh my goodness, she is an animal. So she's just taking these Toon Squad members out left, right, and sideways. Mibs kind of, pulls the slack in a little bit. He runs forward. He ties it off. He runs forward and continues following her. Now, the party still has initiative. They still have initiative. And whose turn is it next? I'm going to say we're going to go over to Gary and Superdu, right? I'm going to say if that makes sense. So Gary's running backwards, and he's got goblins, and he's fighting the goblins off, and he's slicing them down. And he looks at Redbeck and he points his sword at him. He's like, you still want the sword, big guy? And he runs at him. He charges. Let's see what he can do. Gary is going to use power. He's going to make his way through to Redbeck. They're going to meet up. He's chopping down goblins. He's not at Redbeck yet. No, he's not, because first he's got to get through one of the wargs, right? These large bear-like creatures, mangy fur, goblin-looking faces and hands, and they're kind of got this elongated snout with so many teeth. And he's going to attack the warg. So he is going to fight up close using power. Gary's going to use his D6 for power, and he's fighting the warg. And he gets a 1, and that's not good. We are not even going to think about that. We only have 1 stamina left. And we only have 2 Loonium. Let's use our 2 Loonium to get the strong hit, because that's going to add 1 more stamina to us. So he is out. Gary does not have Loonium. He is struggling, right? There are hundreds and hundreds of these goblins. He's slicing them down, slicing them down, slicing them down. And then the warg comes up, and this warg is taking everything out of him. It's slashing forward. He's ducking, he's bobbing, he's moving. Its gnarling teeth are gnashing at him, and they almost catch him right in the face, and he just manages to pull with lightning fast reflexes. He summons his Loonium, and he uses it to kind of avoid, and then he stabs back at the warg. So he gets a strong hit. He retains the initiative, which is what we want. We do not want to be on the back foot here. And he gets +2 stamina. That takes him up to his max. He's got 3. And a strong hit here is going to be 2 health of damage. So we get 2 more progress on this track. So he stabs this warg, and when he stabs the warg itself even looks kind of like surprised. It's like, oh, right. And he pulls it off and kicks it over the banister. When the warg goes over the banister, over this railing, it gets sucked into the gyre. When it hits the gyre, they can see this warg in its dying breath screaming, lights punching through its eyes and poking holes through its body. Its skin and its flesh is tearing and bubbling. And the party's like, oh my God, right? And this thing both explodes and implodes kind of at the same time as it gets sucked into this gyre. So one of the wargs is down. Yeah, he did it, right? And he's sweating. But he sees Redbeck and he charges forward at him. So Cambycyprus Lawsoniana is mowing down these Toon Squad members like it's nothing. We're not even going to roll because we don't even need to, because we know this dude is a prank war soldier veteran. And these Toon Squad members are essentially fodder. He's just mowing them down. He's chopping through them left, right, and sideways. We are just going to mark a progress as he makes his way to the wall and starts his ascent, right? The Govn'a yells, and he tells the rest of the Toon Squad members to take care of the soldier. He's like, what are you guys doing fighting the kid? He's like, get the soldier! And they immediately start leaving the platform where Andy was walking on, and they start running the other way. Now, she doesn't hear that because it's super loud, and she's just in the zone, and she's just like, yes, fear me! Fear me! And she's got this big book, and they all just take off. The Toon Squad, the 2 Toon Squad members that she launched over the edge, they're trying to pull him in, and the Govn'a just yells. He's like, forget them, cut them loose. And they pull out a knife, and they're like, no, no, no. Right, and they cut them loose, and they both go flying into the gyre as well, and they burn up. And then the Toon Squad members retreat and run to the other side. So Cambycyprus Lawsoniana is starting to climb the handhold covers, and the Toon Squad members come over, and they start climbing after him. And that brings us back to Gary. No, it doesn't. It brings us to Andy. Andy gets closer and closer to this gyre, and she's going to make another save, right? We have to, I think, at this point, because the gyre is getting volatile now, right? It's not just crackling with lightning, but some plasma gets thrown out right in front of her, and she's going to need to face adversity to dodge this, right? These environmental hazards are starting to step it up. This gyre is becoming less and less stable. The room is kind of starting to shake. Rocks are falling from the ceiling and getting sucked into it and disintegrating. She's going to face adversity. She's going to use agility again, because she's got to dodge this plasma as it comes towards her. Her agility, what is her agility? It's a D8. So we're going to roll our D8. And we get an 8, and that is not going to fly. Let's re-roll that one. We're going to go down to 2 for our stamina. And we get another 8. And we get another 8. And this plasma is going to hit her. On a miss, you fail miserably. That sucks. This plasma is going to hit her, right? This plasma, I think that's the only thing that it can do. It lunges forward, and it smashes into the wall, and it disintegrates some of this wall, and it burns through it. And she gets hit with some of the spatter from it, right? That sucks. What is the most common outcome? It's going to be losing health. She's going to lose a health. She's going to go from 4 down to 3. And that does suck. And I think just because this is a boss fight, I think we're also going to roll on this table. We've done this once before. Let's do it again. So we're rolling the That Sucks table too, and we're going to see what sucks about it. We've got a 6. 6. Someone you care about is put in danger. Yeah, no duh. I think Gary is put in danger. Gary is charging forward because we were going to deal with him anyway. So Andy gets hit with some of this spatter of this plasma, and it's burning through her clothes. It's burning through her shirt, right? She looks like kind of like at the end of an action movie where your shirt's torn up and burned and everything, and she's getting dirty and everything. She's burned. She's like, ah, right. And she looks over her shoulder, and she sees Gary being put in danger, right? He makes it face to face with Redbeck. And I think because he's put in danger, that means we just lost the initiative, right? Let's do it. Why not? It's a boss fight. He loses the initiative. Redbeck is going to pull the uh-oh move. Gary is going to have to fight up close, and he's going to roll endurance. What is Gary's endurance now? His endurance is a D4, all or nothing. And he gets a 3. It's a strong hit. So he is able to deal a health of damage. So he deals 1 health of damage. And he takes the initiative back. We can ready ourselves, or we can deal another. Let's deal another damage, right? Let's deal another damage. Let's take Redbeck out. So he's in danger. Redbeck grabs him, right? And this impossibly large hand. He kind of squeezes him, and Gary's like, oh my God. Like his bones are starting to crack, and Redbeck is just cackling to himself, right? He's like, I told you you'd pay. And Gary's like, oh, right. He can't get to his sword. He can't move his little hands. He can't break free. This dude is so strong. But Superdu is behind him. And Superdu is going to take out his hair gel, and he's going to grab a handful of it and throw it at Gary. No, he's not, because we know we can't throw. Yes, he is. We can throw things, okay? Because Gary, the Superdu is going to use one of his. He's going to use one of his Loonium. Yeah, we're going to go down 2. Superdu kind of manipulates a tunnel of space where this gyre is not going to impact his hair gel as he throws it, and he launches this hair gel at super speed, a clump of it. It just smashes into Gary's face and starts running down him. Gary's like, hey, what'd you? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got you. He starts rubbing it on himself, and he starts squirming. And Redbeck's like, what are you doing? And Gary's like what I'm doing? He's like, first of all, why don't you ask what he's doing? And he looks over his shoulder, and Redbeck's like, what? And he turns, and there's nobody over there, right? Why would he look? But he looks, and it gives Gary just enough time to shimmy, and he kind of squishes through his hands. When he squishes through, he pulls out the sword, and he juts up and he stabs Redbeck right in the chest. And Redbeck's, oh, right, and he takes the sword out. Superdu is fighting off more and more of these goblins, and then he makes his way to Redbeck to launch an assault as well. At this, before he punches, Andy notices that the Loonium, because it burned her, right? It just burned her right now. She notices that they can interact with it. And that was never the case before. And she looks up at the machine, and she remembers the prime rods, right? And Mibbs, because he's held the prime rod longer than anyone else, the prime rod is kind of lending its knowledge to him. He says, we've got to use the prime rods. And he says, Superdu, the prime rods. And Superdu throws both of the prime rods to Andy and Mibbs, and Andy and Mibbs both grab them. And he's going to use another one of his Loonium in order to do that. So he's down to 1. He's getting drained. He can feel the effects on it. And they both get the keys. So Andy's got a prime rod, and Mibbs has now 3 of them, right? So Camicipris Lawsoniana has 1 prime rod, and Mibbs has 3 prime rods. Andy and Mibbs make their way through the rest of the Toon Squad members that are there. There's only a couple of them because they're all after Sir Camicipris Lawsoniana, and they start ascending the wall as well. So we're going to make another face adversity check for all 3 of them as they get to the top of our wall. And I'm going to say, let's do Sir Camicipris Lawsoniana. He's going to be using endurance right now because this is taking a toll on him. He's climbing, he's kicking, he's sword fighting these guys. He's got to dodge left and right as crackles of lightning bash into the wall. And he's going to do endurance. He's going to do a D8. Where's our D8? There it is. And he gets a 4. It's a strong hit. And a strong hit plus 1 stamina. Tell me that we have some stamina to gain. We don't. But Sir Camicipris Lawsoniana we will say with that strong hit, we succeed with Gusto. Let's take the initiative back, right? Why not? We did. Let's take the initiative back if we didn't have it before. And he ascends and he gets to the top, right? And as he climbs forward, and he's out of breath, he's like, why did I wear this plate mail and climb in it? That almost seems impossible. And the rest of the party, Andy and Mibbs, are just behind him. He gets to the top, he pulls out the sword, he says, you, right? And he points right at this tiny, fat little man with squinty eyes and impossibly little hands. How are you even pulling those levers and pushing those buttons, he thinks to himself. But no time for that right now. He's got to fight him. He says, step away from the machine. And the Govn'a turns and he goes, he goes, you thought that I would let this master plan end in a sword fight? He's like, no. And he pushes one final button and he jumps into the gyre. And Sir Kami Cyprus is like, wait, what? Right, and the machine whirs one last time. And the gyre starts turning into this black color. This amorphous kind of blob starts forming. And the Govn'a floats into it. And Andy's like, what just happened, right? And when he hits it, he starts screaming, right? His body starts bursting and bubbles start forming. And again, the light punching through him. Ah! Right? And he starts growing and growing and growing and growing. And the Govn'a starts warping into this mound of goo, this dark now rainbow kind of color. It looks sort of warped. The Loonium is changing him and he's becoming this oozy kind of thing and just consistently expanding. And he laughs and he yells. The Toon Squad members are frightened at this. They're like, what is going on? Right? And he lunges forward and reaches at Sir Kami Cyprus Lasoniana. And Sir Kami Cyprus Lasoniana, who doesn't do nicknames, slices and takes an attack at this gooey monstrosity that's coming towards him. Let's make an attack roll. Let's make an attack roll. So many pages in this tiny booklet. Okay. He's fine up close. He's going to roll power, right? So Kami Cyprus Lasoniana has a power of a D10. Here it is. Whoops. He rolls a 1. Do we want to re-roll or use our stamina? Let's just use our use our Loonium, right? 5 goes down to a 3. His first sword attack does nothing, right? It just slices through it. And you can see it starting to like re-heal. Like the Govna''s hand is pulling itself back together and he takes another slice, Loonium aided. And he sees like a rainbow kind of come around his sword and he slices through and then cuts off bits of the hand and the hand just kind of explodes. He's like, we need Loonium to hurt him. And the whole party's like, we're kind of running low on that. We have 2 health of damage. So let's do 2 health of damage. And that is going to end that track. That is going to end that track. Okay? That is going to end the track. Okay, but it's not because it's a boss fight. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw 5 more circles in there. And this is stage 2 of the boss fight. It's got to be stage 2, right? Because the Govn'a is transformed into this monstrosity. So it's Kami Cyprus Lasoniana is fighting. Andy gets to the top. When she gets to the top, she runs over. She pulls out the prime rod key. And she smashes it into the machine. And we got 5 progress. Let's make 1 right here. Not because she did anything, because she didn't. All she did when she hit the machine with the prime rod is she made it intangible. And nothing changed in the room. And she's like, wait, what? And the Mibbs gets up there. He's like, Andy, wait. And he gets up to the top. And he says, oh, he's like, you did it already. He's like, yeah, no, we didn't need the prime rod on that. Because he's been holding the prime rods the longest. He knows how to use them. He's like, yeah, no, all you did was just make that intangible. And she's like, huh? She like reaches forward at the machine, and sure enough, she can't touch it anymore. They could see it. It's like a ghostly thing. And he's like, no. He's like, the Loonium is what we have to hit with it. And she's like, oh, so? She's like, I did nothing. And he's like, no. He's like, you didn't do anything. So, but he's like, but I got a couple other prime rods. So they use one of his prime rods, and she tosses it to her, and then she smacks the machine with the second prime rod and makes it tangible again. Kids, right? Always rushing into things. You think she would have learned something with that physics textbook of hers. Mr. L would be disappointed in you, Andy. Okay? She smacks with the second one. It becomes tangible again. And then there's a stop button and a key. So she hits the stop button and turns the key. And the machine powers down. And the Loonium stops flowing through the 2 pipes. And these gyres slowly stop whirring. And this growing monstrosity stops growing and starts to vibrate violently, and bits and pieces start flaking off. The Govn'a says, "What happened?" And then Andy says, "Now can I hit the machine?" He's, "Yeah, you can hit the machine now." And she takes her physics textbook. Ah! She starts bashing the machine to pieces, and bits and pieces are clanging and breaking from it. So Camisipros Lasoniana jumps into the gyre now that it's safe to do so. He holds a sword above him, and he stabs down. One last attack roll against the Govn'a. Where are we at here? He's going to roll power. He is going to roll power. Yeah, he is. He's going to roll power. His power is a D10. We get an 8, and we can't have that. He's going to use 2 more Loonium to re-roll. Not to re-roll. He's going to use the 2 Loonium to get a strong hit. On a strong hit, we get 2 more damage. And he slashes into the Govn'a, and again, bits and pieces of him are just bursting through. Gary, after he stabbed Redbeck, and Redbeck is looking down, Superdu now turns, and he takes his broken hand, and he punches Redbeck square in the face. Superdu is going to spend... He can't spend any Loonium. Superdu is just going to roll power. He's going to roll our D4. And he's going to get a 3. That's a strong hit. Superdu punches Redbeck. Redbeck goes flying over the rail, and he tumbles into the Govn'a. And the 2 burst and explode, and the Govn'a just blows up. He says, "No!" And he blows up. The gyre starts rumbling and explodes out as well. The machine is destroyed. The plans for the Govn'a to suck up infinite amount of Loonium energy and become this monstrosity thing and unleash himself on the world has been foiled. He explodes. The Loonium just bursts all over. And instead of this plasma that burns through them, it's the vicious kind of Loonium that they saw before, and it coats them, and they just get covered in syrup. That last explosion... Let's get rid of these guys. That last explosion of color brings vibrancy back to the Toons. Their Loonium that was drained before, right? Gary was completely out. He can feel himself starting to lose color, starts to get restored. Old Man Kylan's comes back to full color and full fur and full health, and Andy descends rapidly and goes over and gives him a hug, and she's like, "I saved you." And he says, "Don't get carried away, kid," right? He's like, I'm still Old Man Kylan's. I'm still going to yell at people. But thank you. And so Camisipros Lasoniana knows that they've completed their task. The Toon Squad has been driven out of Toon Square. They've destroyed the machine. They can see the Loonium Rift starting to expand again. And the last thing that they do is take another one of those prime rods, and they throw it into the rift, and it hits it. And they see this prismatic, vicious substance starting to disappear again. And the Loonium becomes intangible, as it was meant to be. And they do have a couple extra prime rods, and they hang on to those in case they are needed, in case they are called upon again. And they make their way out of the Hyqueous Vaults. And we have one last move to do. Now, there's 2 moves here that are kind of confusing, because there's Finish a Favor, which is what we use to finish the favors that we had, saving Kylo and finding and healing the rift. But then there's also another move that I can't find right now. Hang on, where is it? It's Finally Over. When your journey has reached its natural conclusion. So there's 2 of these moves that are kind of doing the same thing. So I'm going to roll the It's Finally Over, because it is finally over. Or is it? Can't use Loonium on this. We roll a single D4 when our journey has reached its natural conclusion. And we rolled a 4 with no re-rolls. It says, when your journey has reached its natural conclusion, envision 2 things: what you hope for and what you fear. Roll a D4. On a strong hit, things come to pass as you hope. Envision your epilogue. On a miss, your fears are realized. A new journey is about to begin. What are their fears? Because their fears have to be realized now, right? They think it's all over. They think it's all over. but it's not. Because they hear the Govna's voice kind of cackling again through the halls of the vaults as they leave. Oh, he's like, you haven't seen the last of me. And he's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? After all this. And after all this, we are going to wrap the books on them. The Toonomancers may continue their journey, but for us, that's going to do it for Shenanigans. If you like what you saw, let me know. And then thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Next time, we're going to start up a new campaign with a different system and a different adventure. It's going to be fun.